I'm staying with a friend of mine who lives with this guy who is 85 years old, who worked 40 years in the shadow government, reverse engineering ET craft, and among many other things. So next thing I know, I'm like in this guy's house who works in the shadow government forever. And I finally got a chance to talk to him. And he has one of the most incredible stories I've ever heard and shares all this information with me, but he won't talk on camera. He went into the Air Force, and from the Air Force, two men in black suits approached him to work for this faction of I forgot, he didn't call it the shadow government. He had a different name for it. Forgot. And to work for this faction of the shadow government. And they literally told him, like, you will be working with beings not of this planet. And he was like, oh, like, he was young. And he's like, that sounds great. Like, so he was excited. Like, okay, let's go. He was actually wanting to do it. And the reason they brought him in is because of his like super high scores and IQ and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They brought him in to reverse engineer extraterrestrial craft, right? ET UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
But in particular, the one thing that he was reverse engineering was the technology that they had discovered that allowed them to even attempt the Philadelphia experiment. And he said that the Philadelphia experiment, you know, he told me a whole story how it was a failure and how they got frozen into the walls and stuff. And
Right.
he said the technology that they used was about the size of this room, and it was like about the size of a normal living room.
Right.
And but the only problem is they didn't have a psychic navigator, which is the same thing John Warner, John the Fourth, was told. They didn't have a psychic navigator to see where they were going, so they didn't. That's why the guys got all frozen in the walls and stuff.
They didn't know what they were doing, essentially.
Yeah. So he said he was brought in to figure out this technology and get it to work, and make it smaller than the size of a room. Like they were trying to like turn this reverse engineered technology into something usable.
Right.
And he said it's called dimensional shift technology, which I talk about in my presentation. I literally talk about the dimensional shift and stuff and how the craft like disappear. That's how they stay hidden. They do it what they call dimensional shift, and they travel in another dimension and then come back. I was like, he was surprised that I knew about it when he was telling me about it. And I was like, yeah, I know about that. And I explained it. He was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. Like he slowly, he didn't know who I was from anyone. He slowly started realizing I kind of knew my stuff, you know? So
yeah,
he said that he eventually personally took the side. He was able to work on that technology over the years. They took it from the size of a room to like a size of an iPad to a phone to a credit card. And he said it's the size of a credit card, and you put it in your pocket and you can disappear and go somewhere. Like it's like you can like you don't even need it on a craft. A human can use it. But he said this technology is what is installed in all the craft that allows them to dimensionally shift. And he claims to be the one to reverse engineer it. But he says the size of a credit card. He goes, you can literally like you can make a house disappear if that technology is turned on inside the house. You can like shift.
So it just shifts the whole craft or house or whatever
out of this reality
into another dimension.
Yeah. Out of this reality or to another planet or wherever you want to go on the other side.
Oh, it can change the location.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's like a teleporter. And
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he claims to have reverse engineered that, and then he said they didn't know, so they had these downed UFOs that they couldn't get inside because they didn't have doors. So him and a number of other guys, they sent all over the world to train with the Aboriginals to learn how to teleport physically their bodies.
Oh, wow.
And they had to live. He said he went to South Africa. He went to Australia and Easter Island for years and had to live among the Aboriginals and until he could teleport himself.
Wow.
And he said that he learned all the Aboriginals can do it. They're all telepathic. They're all always in communication with ETs. They use portals, and he said they can teleport. Like he's like they're not dumb Aboriginals. Yeah. They're like ETs.
Well, that's the real technology is what you already have naturally, right? And they're tapped into that.
He said they have portals they use, and they'll like hide their kids in the portal if like something's like a threat to the village. or they
Yeah.
can all go through the portal, or they can just teleport. He said he would be walking alongside of one of them for the training, and one would just disappear next to him, and
Yeah.
like you would have to figure out like where he went or something.
Well, and that's what like the Sasquatch, same thing. They have those abilities
Yeah,
as well. That's
it's the same, probably the exact
same,
same thing, but it's
same.
not a technology. It's just an ability that we can do. You don't know how to do.
We
So
just got
anyway,
to tap into that. We already all have that ability, right?
so he learned how to do it, and so did some other people. And their job was to teleport themselves inside the craft, to get inside the craft to reverse engineer it. And he did that, and he claims to have been to multiple planets um, outside of this galaxy. Even
Mhm.
I asked, how did you get there? Um, did you actually like take a ship, and like how long did it take you to get there? And he's like, no. He's like, it's, you don't understand. It's like instant. He's like,
Instant.
yeah. He's like, some of them require a craft because the craft is how you get there, but it's instant. He goes, I was like, what about like, you know, are there craft out there that take like 3 months to get to Mars? He said, only if you believe it needs to take that long. If you're at that level of awareness, then yeah, your
Right.
craft is going to take 3 months to get to Mars. He goes, but once you once you understand what we're capable of and what these ships are capable of, you don't need the craft. He goes, the stuff in Star Trek is just to throw you off. Like he said, that's real, but they don't need the craft to go travel all the way across space. He goes, they can just
Right.
go there.
Right.
And he said I've worked with more ETs than I have humans. And
Nice.
I was like, I was like, this is crazy. I'm like,